I like what we're talking about right now. It kind of goes with that. The pressure is just like, that's where growth is going to happen. I'm having this hard feeling right now, and this is what's going to grow me closer to God. This is what's going to get me to start speaking the truth over myself. This is what's going to get me to go above that with him and know that like it's not out of my strength, it's out of his strength. Yeah. So anytime you do feel, if you still struggle with stuff like that, like it's just to bring us closer to him, because it's an emotion. It's a feeling that we feel. I feel like we all feel
legit.
it.
It's legitimate.
Yeah. And he's not intimidated by it.
No.
Like, and what you said is so powerful, because like I've gotten to know God as Father in a different way this past year.
Wow.
I really have. Like, and it's like, until you let your weakness show, his strength can't make up the difference for it. You know, like you're walking around like you got it all together. Like, he's like, well, there's no room for me. It's not that he can't fill it. It's that you're not even acknowledging that it's empty.
You are listening to the Higher You podcast. This is episode 2, season 2, and we have our first guest, Josh and Mel, finally here. I'm Jonathan, your host, and I'm here with Alexus, the co-host of the Higher You podcast, and we are joined by Mel and Josh, some very good friends of ours. We have met them at the church, and we all serve together every morning. We haven't really hung out besides this time and another time, but we see each other every single week. Which is pretty cool. But Josh and Mel, you guys actually have a production company that you guys do. It was JMD.
Yeah.
JMD
Productions.
JMD Productions. Yeah.
JMD Productions. So wanted to shout you guys out with that. I know you guys are in the creative field, the entrepreneur field, which me and like we said before, we look up to you guys in that area, because that's something that we also, we want to dive into that field ourselves.
Yes, sir.
Also, by the way, if you're watching the video, I do not wear glasses, but I have a black eye right now. So I'm wearing glasses to cover it up. But first of all, I just want to thank you guys for being on the podcast.
All right, Ava. Our dog wants to join us.
Special guest Ava.
She's going to sit on my lap.
She wants to like my ginger.
Our dog is trying to join the podcast right now. Okay.
All right, Ava, come on. Get down, mama. Come on. Let's get down. All right. Well, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to be here and support us in this way. We really, really appreciate that. And we know you guys love us. We love you guys. So I just want to say thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah.
But we'll just start out. Like we said before, we'll start out how's life? How's life been going for you guys? What's some good things that's been going on? What do you guys feel like has been going good in y'all's lives so far?
Well, it's been, sorry, Ava's licking my.
Come here, Ava. Come here.
First of all, thank you guys so much for inviting us.
You.
We're so excited to be here.
First time I've been on the podcast, so this is a cool experience.
Like in person, 2020 it was like virtual interviews and stuff like that sometimes, but yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, this past year has been a whole whirlwind.
Yeah.
Kind of don't know where to start.
No, I feel you. The beginning of the year of 2024 is already so much has happened.
Right. So much
already.
just in this month.
Yeah.
We moved to Fort Worth in December 2022. So we've been here just a little over a year and a month now.
Okay.
And still getting acclimated, to the new surroundings and stuff like that. Mel was born in Tulsa, and I pretty much, grew up there. I moved there to go to college in 2006 and graduated in 2010, and started working in my career field as a video editor for a Christian media company. Did that for 8.5 years. Got married during that time in 2015, and so moving to Texas has been different, but
a big step
for us. But we're grateful we took that step for sure.
We dug our heels in now.
Yeah,
so we're Texans.
Now we're officially texting.
On the surface. I don't know how deep it goes.
I remember last time I asked you guys, like, or I think I was talking to you, Josh, like how are you guys getting kind of with the transition? How does it feel like from Oklahoma to Texas? So does it feel like a little more like homey to you guys? Does it?
It's starting to. Yeah. It's starting to feel, homey, but that'll probably take a while still. Cause like I said, I grew up there in a sense, Tulsa's where she's from. So all her friends and stuff are there and family is there. So going somewhere where you don't really have that kind of connection like that, that takes time. And that takes time to build, trust with different people and all that stuff. So, but you also in the same token, you start to learn a lot about yourselves when you're not in those familiar settings and surroundings around those familiar people. It's like, okay, it's you and I right now. And, just, figuring that out, figuring out that dynamic and stuff. So, that's really been a blessing to process that, honestly. I mean, I would say that from my perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's facts. Like moving to a different city from where you're born, I think that's like one of the best things that you can do for your personal growth and development.
Yeah.
Getting out of like what you're most comfortable with from like the city that you're born, it's going to throw you on a whole different route in life. Like your whole perspective is going to be changed. You, like you said, you have to trust new people, which is probably one of the biggest reasons why people don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's great. It's really cool that, you guys came from Transformation Church, which anybody that I've encountered from that church has a glow on them. I don't know what it is, but I've never been there.
I hope it's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Like there is definitely something about that church. Like that church is definitely anointed. That church is definitely, it has such a powerful touch on it. Absolutely, for sure. And you can just tell in like the sermons that they preach where they're at, like in like by the naked eye, they have, like a big church and stuff, but behind the scenes in a church aspect, like we can see like they're actually doing something right. Like, they have a touch on them.
So how did you guys know that you were supposed to come here to Texas? Like what made you want to come here?
That's a great question. So I'm going to make a statement that's probably like, it's probably like a contrary to popular belief thing, but I don't think you ever really know. I think that, okay, so I have this whole theory about knowing. Like we, as humans, we always want to know. Like I want to be 100% sure this is the person I'm supposed to marry. This is the job I'm supposed to take. This is the city I'm supposed to live in. This is the dog I'm supposed to buy. This is the cereal I'm supposed to eat today. Like we just want to know everything. Yeah. And there's some things that we don't know. Like the Bible says we see through a glass darkly, and people prophesy in part, know in part, see in part. Like there's a lot of part in the Bible where it talks about humans. God is all knowing and God is omniscient. And so I think at the helm of it, like we were really just trusting God to open a door for us. And when we saw the door, he presented, he said, hey, you have the opportunity to walk through this door.
Yeah.
And so we had been praying about it. I mean, honestly, since we got married, we knew we weren't going to be living in Tulsa at some point.
Right.
It's just kind of been a thing. And we've been married 8 years as of last October.
Wow.
Congrats.
Thank you.
It's almost a decade.
Yes, we almost in there. And 8 years was big for us. Like it was really, really big. This new beginnings, But yeah, like at the time that we, kind of were presented with the idea of moving to Texas, it was like, really? Like right now? Is this it? Because we'd been waiting for like 7.5 years at the time. It's like, do we really think that this is God, or do we really feel like this is a moment, that this door is opening and maybe this is one that we should really walk through? Because there were a couple other opportunities for us to move out of Tulsa before, and it just, something wasn't right. It wasn't coming together the way, blessing of the Lord makes rich and has no sorrow to it. And it's like, there's going to be a little bit of just something that's not really like fully fleshed out on this end. And we just didn't feel peace about it. We prayed about it and we ended up staying in Tulsa. And even in that, it was like an obedient step to say like, okay, let's fulfill an assignment here. Let's not just be here because we're stuck here in the meantime. Because I mean, that's my hometown. Like I could live there forever and be fine and just travel. But at the same time, I knew that what we had needed to go to another city too. And we needed to go back and build in Tulsa, but we also needed to be connected to other communities as well. And so, so when we were presented with the opportunity to move out here, a door opened with this church here, and it was everything just started coming together. It was like almost way too easy, like too fast, too easy. Like, it was like, is this really happening? Wait, is this already taken care of? This is almost the exact amount that we need for this. And like just different, there's so many little markers.
A lot of mind blowing.
Yeah. Like down, like people, like, so to give you a little bit of backstory. So my dad had lived in Atlanta, Georgia for like almost 10 years. My parents were split. And he'd been living there, and he lived in this like kind of like a senior community, like not a old folks home or anything like that, but it's just like a community where they have certain amenities and stuff like that for people who are a little older, because he was in his 70s. And so he'd been living there. We're like, Dad, it might be kind of time for you to move back to Tulsa, you know, like just be back around some family and stuff. He's starting to do like little old man stuff and kind of be in his own little world. And you know, like he's the most personable person you will ever meet. Like he's so extroverted, like to the max. He wanted to always meet you, know your name, you know, hear about your whole life story, and then like tell you his. And he was going to do his radio announcer voice and WYLD and talk about when he was a DJ in New Orleans. And, you know, he's just the most animated person. So he was still like thriving and doing well, but also I was concerned about stuff with his health. I'm like, what are you eating? Is anybody taking care of you? Have you been to the doctor? You know, just regular things that if he was in town, then we probably would have been, you know, helping him with and stuff like that. So we kind of had tried to make plans for him to move back to Tulsa. But stuff just kept falling through. We were trying to find another community where the cost would be similar, because he was living off Social Security and just a lot of different things. So worked it out. My godfather ended up buying him a plane ticket, and we got him into a place, and we got him there October 2022. So this is, at this point, we had basically made up our minds that we were going to move to Texas, but we hadn't set an exact date yet. Because I was like, well, yeah, we just, you know, I'm trying to move my dad back to Tulsa. Also, my sister had been diagnosed with breast cancer. She was 30 years old at the time. Yeah.
At the time,
yeah. So super wild. She's like, I mean, everybody's way too young for cancer, but she was way too young for cancer. And just out of nowhere. And so we're, you know, grappling with that. Like she was getting ready to possibly do treatment in Houston, Texas. And so we were trying to navigate a lot of things. It was a big season for our church. Just a lot of busy going on. And so just had to try to find the still and the quiet, and like, God, do you really want me to move away from my hometown when my dad just got here and my sister is about to go through one of the hardest things in her life?
Wow.
And so that was especially on me. I mean, on us, because Josh they couldn't be no closer. Like that was his blood sister, you know? So it felt like, man, like, should we be leaving right now? But so many other things started lining up that it felt like, man, we can't not, we can't not go see what's behind this door. Like we can't, like God is presenting something to us, and it feels like, yeah, if we go and participate and do this, then, you know, this would be a faith step, which means that God will have to take care of the faith that we got on this other end. Like he has to take care of the family stuff. And so it was a huge faith step for us, not just because it was like leaving my hometown, but because, you know, what we were walking away from, and it showed a relinquishing of control that I think is important. Because again, we like to know, you know, like humans, we really like to know and have control. Especially me, like I'm kind of a control freak sometimes. Josh can probably attest to that.
Aren't we all at some extent?
Right, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So it was difficult, but it also, there was so much peace that followed at the same time. I'll never forget, I was kind of nervous to tell my family, but we had this worship night to kind of pray over my sister and just worship with her before she was about to go into her first round of chemotherapy. And it was at a friend's house. So it was just, you know, a small group of us with family. And afterwards, I pulled my brother and sister and my mom to the side, and we told them like, hey, so y'all know we've been going back and forth to this church in Texas, and we're feeling like God is calling us to. And Destiny, my sister, cut us off. She's like, you're moving to Texas?
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, yeah. She was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you guys. And I mean, I broke down because that's what I needed, you know. And she didn't know, I had no idea how she was going to react or how my family was going to react at all. But they were all just like 100% like, yes, go, we support you. You know, we'll figure it out kind of thing. And what was really crazy is, so we moved my dad there in October. My sister started her cancer treatment. We made plans to move. We're working on getting out of our lease in our apartment, all of that. And then we hit December. We moved December 6th to Fort Worth. And it's like a huge, I don't know, just a big deal moment right there. But a month later, my dad passed away. And so it was like, whoa, was not expecting that. He wasn't sick, you know. It was like, he was, like I said, he was a most larger than life personality. So I just expected him to outlive all of us. I did not expect that. Yeah. And so, you know, that took a toll. At the same time, I know, you know, we were just going through a whole lot, just transitional, navigating like depression and issues in our marriage and just like stuff coming to the surface. Because when we got moved away from what was familiar, it's like all this stuff kind of started coming up. And so, yeah, we made a resolve, like, God, if you brought us here, then there must have been reasons, that it's not, you know, because I was gone that this happened, or it's not because we made a decision that, you know, that we missed out on something or whatever. It's like really saying like, okay, God, you've opened up this new assignment for us. We want to be faithful with this new assignment that you've given us, because the same way we were faithful to stay, we want to be faithful to go, you know? And I truly believe God blessed it, because in retrospect, I was able to see like, wow, I got 2.5 months with my dad in town. Like, I got to see him every week and be around him and make memories and stuff. And, you know, that I wouldn't have had if he was in Atlanta and had passed away. That was
wow.
So he lived in Atlanta? Okay. Yeah, and then he went to Oklahoma.
Yeah, we moved him back to Oklahoma in October.
So God literally ordained all of that before you knew anything was going to happen.
And then my sister ended up starting treatment in Houston in February. So this like January, my dad passed away. February, my sister moved to Houston to continue cancer treatment. So I went to Houston for the first week when she had surgery and just all this other stuff. And it was just, I was like a whirlwind of things. At the same time, we're just hanging on by a thread in our own household, just trying to figure out like, even if we didn't live in another city, I think that it just took a toll, just everything, emotional, the grieving
for sure
of several things at the same time.
Yeah.
When we saw you guys, I remember we would see you here and there. Like there was just like little seeds being planted, I feel like in our relationship a little bit. I would have never known that you guys were walking through all that stuff. And I remember like when you guys came over for the first time, you, Josh, like shared things that you were walking through and what y'all were walking through together. And we never would have known that just because of like what you carry on your life and how you just, like when you walked into the church, it was about others. It wasn't about how you guys are feeling or what you guys are going through. Like you went there to serve the church, to serve what God wants you to do here. And it's just so amazing that you were able to put that in the place it needed to be and go and take care of it outside. It's almost like when you go into work, like leave home stuff at home. Yeah. That's what it felt like. Like it didn't, like you guys weren't walking around with the victimizing spirit. You guys weren't walking around like with it on your shoulder. Like you guys always had your heart on your sleeve. And that's one thing like what really I admired about you guys. Like you guys, like just your personality, the way you love others in the church. It was just really special. So I would have never known that y'all walked through all of that. So I think it's amazing that y'all, I don't know, and I, you know, like we don't see that kind of stuff on ourselves.
Right,
you know,
right.
you probably
would have realized that. Going
through. You don't ever know. That's why, you know, you always got to treat people with kindness, with respect, with love, the love of Christ, unconditional, agape love. And that's really, I mean, I know that's really big for me, treating everyone with respect and with love. And, you know, what you can place in this place, you do that. But, you know, when you get in the house of God and when you, because honestly, in a church setting on a Sunday morning, like the people that serve with you, most of the time you probably only see them that day. Yeah. And so like, you just don't, there's so many hours in the week that you just don't know what they had to face that week. And so when they get in a setting like that, like you just want to be loving and open, and that's always been a huge thing for me. So to hear you say that, it's like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome because what we were going through, a lot of people didn't know.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Y'all did that for us. Mm-hmm. Like the time that we came to your house and you're just like, come over and let's just connect and let's talk. And it ended up being a really healing conversation.
It was.
You had no idea how much we needed.
That's so awesome. I love to hear that. Because we have no other intention but to just be raw. Like, we don't want to we don't have any agenda. Like, we like people that can just chill, like have a conversation. If you have to if I have to hang around you and you have to have a fake smile or have a fake. Have to
just
fake anything.
Just not being authentic and real.
Mm-hmm. But no, that's definitely something that me and Lex alone have talked about, about you guys, just the way that you guys carry yourselves, through situations. Wow. Because obviously when we had that conversation, it kind of gave us a little bit of insight of what's going on. And after that conversation, we're like, dude, that's crazy that they carry themselves like that, because we wouldn't have any idea. We would have no idea. And it's just amazing that you guys can carry that and still walk through what you guys are doing and serve every single weekend and just be the joyful people that you guys are.
And also step into the leadership that y'all have stepped into, on top of all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can only imagine, obviously, we were talking about earlier, we're always still learning in relationships. Mm-hmm. Our marriages, we're always still learning and learning new things about each other, about the other person, or about ourselves. But I can only imagine how much growth that has sparked between you guys of moving, having that big change.
Oh, absolutely.
And with all of that going on, all of that mix going on, even besides the move, with your family, all that stuff going on with your family, that's crazy. That's wild to still have the faith and the motivation alone to move to a whole different state while all of that's going on.
And even to have the lens that you were having, like you said, about seeing how God ordained the steps with your dad. And instead of being like, wow, God, how come this happened and I wasn't there? Why'd you call us to move here now when all of this is going on? And then look, my dad passed away. Look, my sister's going through this. But instead you chose to have the lens of what God's, it's not based off of our own understanding. And you chose to look at okay, God, I don't understand, but I see the way you did this, and that's a blessing to me. Yeah. And that became your story. And I know that will probably bless somebody listening to this. You never know what they're walking through, or if they lost somebody special to them. They feel like it's the wrong time, but now they can see that it's not the wrong time. It was the right time.
No man knows how our days are numbered, but we don't know the number. So we try to live every single day as if, it's pleasing to God, and we're living life to our fullest and having shared memorable experiences, and
that we're glorifying God in our lives as well.
That's what I want to be known for. Yeah. That's what we want to be known for.
Y'all are.
More than anything else. I want to be you know what? That woman glorified God. That marriage glorified God. That family glorified God. I want that to be the testimony.
So how did you, I know you want to say something real quick.
What are you about to say?
Okay. How did you?
I'll save it. I can save it.
Yeah, don't lose it. Okay. How did you guys keep, what, I mean, we know, if you have a relationship with God in the center, it'll never fail. But what is some stuff personally in y'all's marriage? How did y'all walk through that? Do you guys feel like it brought you closer together walking through all of that?
It definitely did.
Absolutely.
Did y'all have a lot of times of because we come together and have worship nights with people, or if you have Bible studies, did y'all experience a lot of that time together, praying together and talking to God together? What did y'all, because every relationship is different with God.
So we can be honest, right?
Yeah.
No.
Sure. Yeah. That's why I want to hear that, because we would think sometimes I'll be real and honest.
Everybody wants to, you know, like we're believers.
Right.
And faith is at the center. Honestly, I say this all the time. I don't know how people live without Jesus. Life is hard. Like if you're watching this and you don't have Jesus, like please get him. Just lock in. He's omnipresent. He's right where you are. Just say, Lord, I invite you into this situation. I open the door and he'll be right there.
It's different.
Because man, I don't know how we ever have thought as a society that we could live without him, and how people are doing this without. I don't know how people do grief without him. I don't know how people do marriage without him. I don't know how people do singlehood without him. Like I don't know how we do life without him. But yeah, like it was definitely challenging to remember the why. Like to get back to the roots of like, okay, this is the commitment that you made to each other. Like this ring is a symbol of the commitment you made. It's not just an ornament, you know, it's like this really means something. And why did God bring us together? Even deeper than like our vows and our agenda and our plans. Like, God, what kind of atomic bomb were you trying to create when you put these two personalities together? You know, he's very reserved and quiet. And like, especially when we were first dating and when I first met him, he's like a homebody, like chill. I'm like, let's go out, let's go do something. Yeah. And like, I call myself an extroverted introvert because I'm extroverted because I know my calling and it's people. But I really enjoy like quiet time at home. Like if I'm at home by myself, the TV probably never comes on. I've grown to just embrace that. So like I recharge that way. But I love people and I love like meaningful connection like this. So being away from my people was challenging. And then when I was grieving, it was more challenging because it's like, oh my gosh, now all the people that I normally would like lean on or like, let me just go to my friend's house and just get away from this for a moment. Like I had no escape almost. And like, I don't even have like you know, you have like your place, like your coffee shop or like your go-to bookstore or whatever. Like I didn't have a place here yet. I was like, we just moved. It was like a month later,
just a month,
you know,
it's crazy.
And even before my dad's passing, like Josh was already battling a lot mentally, like his mental health was really suffering and that was taking a toll on our communication and stuff. So but when we first got married, we had this mantra we pray all the time, Lord, bring us closer to you and closer together. It's like, if we get that in order, like if we get closer to God, then after that, then he'll eventually start just inching us. You know? Like even when we don't want to, like I'm mad at you right now, but okay, God, and he starts softening my heart, and then eventually I'm like, okay, so let's, you know. So I don't know if you want to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been finding recently in life, in this kind of season, that I'm just this human experience that I'm experiencing in this thing we call life. I've been finding that doing the most uncomfortable things, like when we feel that kind of pushback, like if you're gonna go like talk to a stranger, just somebody random, if you're at the store, you're gonna talk to a stranger, feeling that kind of rush feeling inside. People would say anxiety. I wouldn't say anxiety. It's just like a human thing. I don't know. I'm very careful about what I label anxiety, but
that's good.
I think facing and chasing that, I've been finding that I have the best outcomes when I do chase after that. And I'm sure moving to a whole different state when all that's going on, you're definitely having all of those feelings and probably much more.
Oh yeah.
And obviously you guys can see now, like there's such a much more better outcome from moving, from doing that. And even from like my little things in the morning, taking like an ice cold shower when it's 20 degrees outside. And I get out of the shower and I feel amazing. I'm like, wow, like that was so worth it. No, it's great. You guys should try it.
Like the benefits behind that is what he's saying.
Yeah,
I believe you.
But
I'm just gonna believe you.
Just those little things though, you know, like, and I was telling her, like with this last time I was sparring in the gym this past Thursday, I just felt so much more of a calmness when I was in the ring. And this time it just felt different. It just felt like when I was in the ring, I felt calm. Nothing else mattered in the world. Wow. And I had one of my best days of sparring ever. And before I spar, like every time before I spar, I'm nervous. Like I don't know what's about to happen. I don't even know who I'm about to spar. But chasing that, like going after that, like I don't know who I'm about to spar, but I'm just going to go and do it. always has like the best outcome.
Like chasing the uncomfortableness.
Yeah, chasing that uncomfortableness. And we really have made it a staple in our life to have that uncomfortableness always. Like
I try.
whatever we do. And yeah, it's hard to do. It's a hard thing to chase. But like I said, it has the best outcomes.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, if y'all have heard some of our episodes, I would talk a lot about, like, I like to get up early in the morning and I want to, but I have a very hard time to. Like 5 o'clock, you know, it's hard because I like, you feel me right now?
Yeah, I'm the person that can wake up early and be fine, but her, it's a struggle.
It's because it's like,
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is uncomfortable. But when we do that, because I've experienced doing it, that's why I want to keep doing it, because it's so rewarding. Like waking up at that time and just going after God's presence and heart when I wake up. Like I don't have to, like when I wake up later, I'm already thinking about what's going on that day. I'm already thinking about, oh, I have to get to this place. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. When I wake up early, I feel like I have that room to just go after God's heart and presence and take my time to get to like whatever I want to do. Like if I want to read or, you know, do the dishes or just get little stuff done in the house before I start my day. Like I just feel like it's a reward when I get to do that. But it is very uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. But a shift that I'm currently made, and it started today, is I just woke up and I just turned on worship music right away. Like I have my phone right there.
I've been doing that too.
I put on my blue light glasses because I don't want my eyes to look at blue light right before I see sunlight.
That's funny. You just started
I need some of those.
Yeah, that's what he has.
Yeah, these are blue light
Makes a
glasses.
difference because if you watch like a show or TV or you're on your phone before you go to sleep, your eyes are supposed to see the natural sunlight, the last thing you do and the first thing you do, because it helps with like your rhythm or whatever, and it helps like when you sleep. It helps with a lot of things.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, because like the blue light is super like it's just not good for us. It's like synthetic, or it's
There's
just
some stuff behind it.
Some stuff about it, what it does to your brain.
Yeah.
So the blue light glasses protect, and there are some on Amazon for only $11. And you get 2 of them for $11.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
I'll send y'all the link
Yes,
to that one.
please.
Yes, please.
Yeah, because I work with
You can find the link below. No, I'm just joking.
I work with screens all day, like at work, and I would leave work just strained. Like my eyes feel like they're about to pop out of my head, and I have a headache. And ever since I started wearing these blue light glasses, dramatic difference, like crazy difference. And even like when we watch our shows, like at night, for watching TV, we'll put them on, and we won't feel like as like active.
Like
our brains
brain
won't be as
active.
active when we go to sleep. So it's made a big difference.
Yeah, because that could be the reason why you're just sitting
Game
there
changer.
just thinking so much because your brain.
And that's
is like,
me.
Yeah.
I think a lot, and it keeps me up. It either, if it's nighttime, it either keeps me up. If I wake up early, it like just causes a delay in the start of my day because I'm just thinking about a whole lot of stuff. But when you're talking about like, you know, prayer and worship and stuff like that early in the morning, that it sets the tone for the day.
Oh yeah.
And for me, I know I've got to get better at that. Like waking up earlier, because I was doing it for a period of time. I was doing the 75 hard thing, and I would go work out in the morning, and like it just really set the tone for my day, just from a physical, like, you know, physically, but like prayer and worship and stuff like that. Like I know I've got to get better at doing that early in the morning because it sets the tone for the day, and it just like, so to me it feels like anything that you encounter during the day is like, Lord, I spend my time with you. You're in control of that situation. So, and you know, so I know I've got to, for myself, I know I've got to get better at doing that.
There's even like different forms, because for me, I feel like we're kind of similar in the way that we think. Like, we're both kind of like reserved in a way.
Yeah.
And then we're similar.
Yeah.
That's how it works sometimes.
But in the mornings, it's different. Like I don't always count on doing the same thing, because when I get in like a repetition of like always putting on music when I drive to work, because that's usually like my time. When I always put on music, it's like I just did this like yesterday, and it feels like a pattern now, and it's just not hitting as much.
Gotcha.
So sometimes I'll put on music, and that'll be like my time with God, and I'm just chilling and listening to worship. Sometimes it'll be a sermon. Sometimes I'm just sitting in silence. Sometimes it's just me like listening to what God wants to speak for the day, and me just talking to God on the way to work. So I always try to switch it up. And that I feel like that's been really helping me. It keeps things on the edge.
I love that.
Different.
I think that's great. And like even earlier when I said it jokingly, but kind of serious, like you asked us about, did you guys just come together and pray and all of that through that difficult time? And I said, no, it was because we weren't coming together and praying and all that because we were at odds. Like, so it helped that like I would come home one day and he'd be in the living room and have worship music playing and be on the couch in tears and just worshiping, like just letting God minister his heart. And I would just go in the bedroom, just close the door, like I'm going to let him have this moment because God, whatever you need to work out, like I'm not, and the same thing with me, like sometimes it's therapeutic from even simple stuff. Like I can be doing my hair and, it's women, especially like black girl magic that goes into doing this poof on my head. Right. I can be in there for hours. Like, and so I was like, let's just make this more Jesus time. Like I could use all the Jesus time I can get. Just let him love on me, let him minister to me. And, and it becomes like, that is my routine, but it's not so routine that it becomes religious and tradition and it's just a mindless routine, but I think that that's important because it builds discipline. And the things that, like you were talking about getting comfortably uncomfortable, basically, like the things that are uncomfortable are the ones that produce muscle and produce, like the tension produces strength. And so it was very uncomfortable in our household for that season. Yeah. Our communication was trash, like just being honest.
It was awful.
It was awful.
There were talks of divorce.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We
And my 6'5", very strong-willed, strong-minded husband was learning how to be vulnerable for like probably the first time really, really, really being like soul level vulnerable, like, cause like stuff like, a man crying or something like that, like that's just looked at in society as like, oh, weakness, oh, he's weak, or, we were talking about earlier, like you're a girl, don't show emotion, but like, that shouldn't be a case, like, because emotions aren't masculine or feminine. They're just emotions. They're just part of our human experience. And so, like we had gotten to that level and I thought like, oh, surely he can be vulnerable with me. But there was stuff going on deep in the recesses of his mind, his heart, his spirit that he wasn't sharing and saying and outwardly being open with me with. And, so it was causing, like, I could feel the disconnect on certain things. And my position, because I'm the type that wants to have the conversation, work it out. Like, let's deal with it now. Let's just dive in and let's just dig up the root. And like, and he's like, I need to process. And he's a contemplator. Like, you said you'd be up all night thinking and stuff. And so I had to rely on the Holy Spirit for grace to give him the space to process what he needed to process, not nag, not push, not press. Like there were some days, me and Vic can be really transparent. Like he was questioning everything, and I had to. It's a weird dynamic, and I know this isn't probably what most people would advise, but like I had to just give him the space to just question everything. Like, don't make anything certain right now. Like, okay, you don't know if the sky is blue today. All right, I'm being dramatic, but like, okay, if it's not blue, what happened? What's still steady in your life, like. If you don't know what's happening tomorrow, if you don't know what's going to happen with our relationship, if you don't know if this was the right decision for us to move, if you don't, if you don't know those things, like what do you know? What's something solid that you can put your feet on? And, and the Holy Spirit really gave me that strategy because I'm not a trained therapist or anything. I ain't stretch the imagination, but he was like, tell him to find what is stable in his life. And like, even at one point we got to the bare bones of it and I was like, okay, what's your name? Like Josh, do you remember that conversation? Wow. I was like, how tall are you? Like you are black. You are my husband. Your name is Josh. Like, I love you. And whether you believe me or not, that is a stable fact. Like, and then there was times when he, hit a moment of vulnerability and I had to just let him talk and not interrupt. And that's hard as women.
It is.
I want to respond to that so
They be taking our light, man. They be taking the spotlight.
Not even the spotlight, just like, I want to respond to things that he was saying. Like sometimes it was like I want to make the point or have the last word. Like it wasn't even like arguments at that point. It was just like, you're finally talking. So now I'm like, now I want to have a conversation, but you just need to get this out. But yeah, we've had the most transparent conversations of our life since then.
Wow.
Like, not even just our marriage, of our lives, I think.
Yeah, that made me emotional when you were talking about just asking him, like, what's your name?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how tall are you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love you. Like, I can only imagine what some people are feeling out there. Probably a lot of people are feeling out there. Like, you even had God in your heart, right? Like, you were a believer when you were going through that. So that just shows you, like, I think some people as believers, they could feel like God left them. Or they're like, where are you? And then they're like, I'm never going back to that because, you know, that didn't do anything for me. But like, God never left you. He was there with you. And so what, if you want to get vulnerable, like what is something that, like from your perspective going through that, like how did you see God in the midst of that? Like when was your turning point to get where you are today?
Man, just realizing that I can't do this life without him. And that he blessed me with her because he knew that I needed her. Like, just, you know, she's different than me in a lot of ways, but God knew I needed different.
Yeah.
He didn't need someone like myself. He needed someone like her. And I know God gave me her. And the more during that period of time, the more I thought about it and the more I talked to God about it, it's like, all right, God, I'm not vibing too well right now, but I know at the end of the day, you gave me her, you blessed me with her, and we're just gonna do what we got to do to work it out.
Yeah.
Even though everything is coming against me right now, mentally, all that stuff. Like at the end of the day, I know you gave me her, and because I want to honor you and honor my commitment, I'm gonna, you know, make sure that, you know, we stick with this thing. And, you know, once we finally got to that place, things just, you know, started getting better. But it did take a little while to get to that place, but, you know, we finally got there. And then ever since, I think honestly, since we moved here, we've had more intense / real conversations in the previous 7 years of our marriage.
Wow.
Really?
And we've had plenty of you know, conversations in our marriage, you know, prior to moving here, but nothing like we've had the last year being here.
That's awesome.
Like I said earlier, like taking us away from the familiar.
Yeah.
Sometimes like it's so easy to you know, when we're in those familiar settings and stuff like that, like to occupy our time with like, you know, being around certain people and then not really facing what you need to face. Like when we you know, when we've been here, it's like, all right, it's just us. Like for real, like we really gotta, you know, be a team and, you know, not occupying our times and stuff with familiarity is like, no, we got to rely on each other even more. And I think that's in the midst of everything that we went through, that really helped us like grow in our relationship.
Wow.
And on top of that, like we said, the tension produces strength. So like, you know, if you put pressure on something, like you boil water, whatever impurities are in it are going to rise to the surface and, you know, and evaporate out. Like it's the same kind of thing. Like, I love hearing there's like a story that I've read about, basically they're doing like a metaphor of what the silversmith does whenever they're like purifying silver, and they pour, you know, it could be just rock, like dirty, nasty, whatever, into these huge vats that boil, and all the impurities rise to the top, and they take this little sifter and they get all this stuff off the surface. And the silversmith knows that the silver is ready to be like made into jewelry or into nice things when he looks at it and he can see his reflection in it. And that's just a symbol of like what God does with us. Like we moved to Dallas and immediately got thrown into a boiling pot. And like all of the heat and all of the pressure, the impurities started rising to the top. So for a little while we was looking at that pot and that's all we could see. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much crap in here that we didn't even know. Like it looked okay on this, you know, at first, but then when it got melted down and with some pressure and some heat applied, like you're going through grief, you're going through mental health issues, you're going through strain in your marriage, you're going through financial difficulty, like whatever, those things, those life pressures produce that thing that's purifying you, but you don't see it at the time. You just see it as like, oh my gosh, this sucks. This hurts, you know? And so we had to continuously like even, and I mean, I know I can say this because he's a man of faith, like in the middle of that crazy mental battle, he still knew God, like still knew God on the throne. And like, even if he thought like anything else, or, you know, like thoughts about himself, negative thoughts about himself, or doubting himself as a man or anything like that, like he could still find that as a concrete thing. And that let him know, like, if we can believe God's on the throne, God made me, you know, Jeremiah 29:11, God knows the plans he has for us. If you can get that bare, just foundational scripture, like he knows the plans, they're good, not evil. He wants to prosper me, not to harm me, to give me a hope and a future, not just a present, not just this present suffering, but a future that's bright in him. Then, you know, you can see beyond the crap that's floating on the surface and be like, okay, God, I'm ready. And he'll slowly start removing that stuff. And it's painful. It's like surgery to get it all out. And I'm not even saying that we're just pure and perfect now, obviously, but you know, the more pressure that's applied, like you said, doing the things that are uncomfortable causes that tension, it causes that pressure, and it causes the stuff to rise to the surface so you can actually deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I like I said before, I don't think that we would have had these types of moments or have gone through this stuff if we had stayed in Tulsa, but it would have been way more comfortable and we wouldn't have grown
as much.
We wouldn't have grown as close together. We wouldn't have grown as close to God.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have grown as close to new people like you guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's produced so much growth, and there's so much more purity and so much more clarity because we went through the fire.
And now you can just give glory to God that He
Exactly.
got y'all here. And I think it's so awesome. Like, you come home and He's just, you know, listening to worship music and crying in those hard times. So I feel like when we get to the place, like we get, like, I'll speak personally for me, like the worry, or even, I like that you said you're careful with words that you say, but sometimes, I mean, we need to label it so we can call it out. So like, yeah, depression. Sometimes you can struggle with depression. That's what that word is. So let's just call it out as it is and focus on, okay, what's the scripture that I can stand on over this feeling? Like, the joy of the Lord is my strength.
Right.
That's what I know right now. That's what I'm going to stand on. And like worry and stuff. But personally, I have to like surrender it to God. And I feel like in the moment of surrendering it and letting go of the control, or even letting go of the knowing of, why do I feel like this? There's no reason for me to feel depressed right now. My life is great. Like, people have it worse out there. Like, we are in such a good, I would tell him, I have so many moments I'm like, babe, like, I feel so sad. And I'm beating myself down for it because there's no reason why I should be feeling sad. Like, what is
Which
this?
makes you feel worse.
I mean, I was like, I have no reason to feel like this. So God, I'm going to release the, like, needing to know why I feel like this. Because I know there could be a lot of factors with your health, like hormonally could be affecting it. Or it could be the enemy trying to come against you. It could be, because I would literally try to like study, like, what am I thinking? What am I focused on for me to feel like
We
this?
like to know stuff.
Yeah. And I just couldn't find a reason. It was just a feeling. So that can, and I've been saying this lately, is like that feeling is going to just bring me closer to God. If I wasn't feeling worry right now, I have no reason to go to Him because I'm just chilling.
Wow.
I'm cruising. I'm vibing with God, which is a great place to be too. But that's not where growth is going to happen, which is like, I like what we're talking about right now. It kind of goes with that. The pressure is just like, that's where growth is going to happen. I'm having this hard feeling right now, and this is what's going to grow me closer to God. This is what's going to get me to start speaking the truth over myself. This is what's going to get me to go above that with Him and know that, like, it's not out of my strength, it's out of His strength. So anytime you do feel, if you still struggle with stuff like that, like, it's just to bring us closer to Him, because it's an emotion. It's a feeling that we feel. I feel like we all feel it.
It's legitimate.
And He's not intimidated by it.
No.
Like, and what you said is so powerful, because, like, I've gotten to know God as Father in a different way this past year.
Wow.
I really have. Like, and it's like, until you let your weakness show, His strength can't make up the difference for it. You know, like, you're walking around like you got it all together. Like, He's like, well, there's no room for me. It's not that He can't fill it. It's that you're not even acknowledging that it's empty, you know? And, like, we got to acknowledge our humanity so that we can get His infinite deity. You know, like, we got to figure out ways to, like, okay, you know, like when David prayed in Psalms, like, create in me a clean heart so that I can serve you. Like, I think that those two things go more hand in hand than we realize. Like, I need a clean heart. So it's acknowledging that mine is dirty. Even if I don't know what's in it, or I can't identify or diagnose it or whatever. Like there's something in me that's human, which means it's not perfect. So God, just make it new today. Just clean whatever is out. Like I'm in the middle of doing this detox right now.
Really?
Yeah, just like drinking a ton of water and this green juice in the morning, and I forgot to take my supplement before we ate. But yeah, like it just in those moments, like it's so important for us to just acknowledge, like, God, I don't know everything. Right. I don't got it all together. And he knows that already, but it does something for us to acknowledge our weakness, because in our weakness, he's strong. Mm-hmm. Like his strength is made perfect in our weakness. But if we don't even acknowledge that we have weakness, how can we get his strength?
Right.
I think that's one of the most beautiful things about being a human. And it sucks because a lot of American culture is so against being open and vulnerable and showing that you're not invincible. Mm-hmm. Right. Like being so open and admitting that you don't have it all together is one of the most beautiful things I feel like that I can see in a person, because I can know that you're going to be real with me. Yeah. Like I can relate to you. You're a human just like me. Like you feel like the same things that I feel. And it really, I think about that kind of often. Like I think other cultures and other countries have it different than America, because we're so spoiled here. We have a lot of things that a lot of other people would die for, like kill for. And like we have a convenience where we can literally come together like this and mention the name of Jesus or mention the name of God and not get killed over it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We have it so easy. And it makes, I just feel like it creates such an atmosphere for people to just feel like they have it all together. And there's nothing wrong. Like we have the best of the best, and we're Americans.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have any areas like that in your life? Just like feeling like you have it all together, and like, or I feel like we all do have some kind of areas like that in our life.
Yeah,
like.
I definitely do. I think a lot of it, when I come home from work, I always try to have it like together, because I don't want to be a mess when I get home. Yeah. You know, and it's very hard. Like when I do come home, and I'm like yesterday when you walked in, and I'm just like, bro.
And I haven't seen him all week. So I've been in Dallas all week for a World Trade Markets Center job. And I came home and he was just so exhausted. And like I was like, okay, like I'm gonna pray, because I was fired up with God, what God did in this week at the World Trade Market Center, and all the divine appointments and the encounters with his. I was just so overwhelmed. Like I had a breakthrough this week. Wow. I had it, and I came home crying. Like it was a whole thing, you know. It's like God really showed up. Like that was awesome. So cool. And so I'm fired up, and I'm coming home, and he's dead. Like he's just exhausted. And so I'm like, okay, like I'm just gonna pray. Like I literally was like, I'm just gonna pray. And that was a little out of my comfort zone, because usually I'll be like, I'll kind of feel like I'm walking on eggshells a little bit, and he's never made that like a thing. Like I just kind of took that on. Like, gotcha. Is it okay if I pray right now? Like, and I mean, I feel like that's okay too. Instead of just being like, I'm gonna force this. Right. Like, it could just feel like, hey, can I like pray over you? I kind of feel
don't make it weird.
Yeah, don't make it weird, right? But
prayer's not weird. Just don't make it weird.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes we can. I don't know why. So I'm trying not to make it weird. But I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna pray. Okay, so I just like prayed and ended up praying like that his cup would be filled and stuff. And so he just communicated to me like, it's just because I'm exhausted doesn't mean my cup's not filled. And my cup is still filled. I'm just so exhausted from this job. Like I had a very long week. And so it was just interesting just coming home to the different kind of like, I'm fired up. He's not, but it still felt good. And I have to trust like, he still has a relationship with God. Just because he's so exhausted doesn't mean.
Right, he's still human.
Yeah.
Still human.
And hearing how you guys have gone through a season of like having those vulnerable conversations, it tells me like that's something that I definitely can do better at. Like in situations like that where I'm exhausted when she comes in, like I could totally like explain like what's going on and open up about my week and tell her what's, you know, just what's on my heart and my mind. So it's very encouraging to hear that what you guys have gone through, and like the pressure that you guys have gone through, like you were talking about, and all of the dirty kind of just being sifted off of the top, and just being able to open up to each other like that in marriage. And that's just one of the beautiful things about marriage. Like it really pushes each other into very uncomfortable places.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for sharing that story, because that really encourages me to do that in my marriage. It's just something that I feel like I can do a lot better at with communicating just my mind, just my heart, because a lot of the times I feel like I don't want to like bombard.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Like, and you probably can speak into this more, because that's something that we really had to work through too, is like protecting the other person from how you really feel.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead, because I know you got something to say.
Well, I was going to say I do that a lot, because a lot of times I don't want how I feel to affect what she's doing, or like, you know, what she's, you know, dealing with in her day or anything like that. But, you know, I would say, when she was talking about earlier how, you know, she would want to deal with things right away, and I would be like a processor, contemplator. In a way, our marriage has grown. Like, I don't even wait as long to contemplate about stuff anymore. Like, because I want to deal with it. Yeah. And I know, like, if she sees it on me that something's wrong, whatever, I don't want to shut her out and be like, no, just let me process whatever. It's like, no, I need to talk about this, because the longer I contemplate, the more, you know, negative thoughts come into play and stuff like that. So like, even growth in our marriage has been like, okay, I know how I typically am is I contemplate, but that's not what's healthy is for our marriage and our relationship.
And like, even with him, I always call him my bodyguard. I mean, he's 6'5", right? Strong, broad-shouldered man, right? I'm like, yes, my bodyguard. But in a lot of ways, like, I know that he really took that persona on. Like, he was trying to protect me from him. I was like, I don't need protecting from you. You know, like, I want to be in there with you. If you're in the trenches, I'm going to come sit by you. Like, I don't want to be on the outside looking in like, you need some water. Like, that's terrible to me. Like, I want to be in this with you. And I think that mindset kind of like, it took some shifting for both of us, because like he said, with, you know, like trying to process and contemplate and all that kind of stuff, like he's gotten more to where he's ready to deal with stuff, and I've gotten more to where maybe I should have thought about this a little longer. Like, so we're starting to like even out a little bit more, and I think it just happens naturally. Marriage is the biggest mirror you could ever look into. You know, you're watching your spouse and seeing a reflection of who you really are. Like, everything that I spew out, give out, you know, say, do, whatever, automatically affects you in some kind of way. And I took his last name, so like when I go out, I represent the Dunlaps. Like, it's not just me anymore, you know.
I always tell my single friends, like, marriage is the biggest slap in the face you'll ever get.
The biggest, best slap in the face.
The best slap in the face.
I was about to say, it's a slap. It's a good one. It'll wake you up. It's like that cold shower.
Girl, a cold shower. I'll sit there for like 5 seconds. I'm like, okay, I'm done. But he's like, you gotta be in there at least 30 seconds. And I'm like, it's tough. But somebody,
my bones hurt.
one of my, oh my gosh, Ava.
Come here, mama.
One of my clients actually does the cold showers, and she says she'll take that moment to worship and press through.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd be doing that when, well, I need to get back to working out. But when I would be working out, like, I would start praying in the spirit, like, when it was hurting, I'd be like, just like trying to get through the last like cycle of reps, and it would help. It really was. It's that weakness and strength tension again. Like, okay, God, I need your strength because mine's gone. You know.
Yeah, I didn't even know that that's really how you felt. To go back to what you're saying, that you would feel like you'd be like putting it on me, but like God created women to be with the man, to be your helper, and like I think also that. Like us, we are very, I'm not saying that y'all aren't like sensitive to God's presence, but y'all are sensitive in a different kind of way. Like we, like, how can I explain this? You know what I'm saying? I feel
where you're going. Yeah.
It's almost like I heard Pastor Lindsay say it on stage. Like, we need the men to like us women. Like, she's like, I don't really feel like I need to talk to women because like we're easily to get there. But like, men, we need you to step up and worship and, you know, go after God's heart. But there's just something about, I think God created us to get there more quicker, like emotionally, to like help you guys in certain areas. Like God gave y'all strengths that we don't have, but that's something I think we can tap in emotionally, like easier. And like, that's to help y'all. So like, if y'all are going through those things, we are supposed to be there to help y'all. That's why we can be quick to be like, can we pray over you in this area? Can we put let's just sit in silence, put some worship music on in this area. Like, I think God created us to be able to come around you guys and help that, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm still very, very much learning.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not even 2 years in yet of actual marriage. And it's definitely a tool, like, to be able to do that and open up, like, be able to have those vulnerable conversations of what's going on in here, and not just like speaking from, you know, like what is going to be like a good conversation right now between us. Like, we want to have those uncomfortable conversations. Like, that's what makes a marriage. That's what makes a good marriage. So yeah, that's something definitely I'm still learning and going through. Yeah.
And it's something that you'll be doing the rest of your life.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. It's a lifelong.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, I'm 3 years. We done had all the uncomfortable conversations. Like, no. Yeah. I know people that have been married 40, 50 years that still have uncomfortable conversations.
And you're always growing and evolving. I mean, I hope you are.
Yeah.
You know, I hope you're not staying stagnant and just being the same person for 20 years. So, like, as he evolves, as she evolves, as I evolve, as he evolves, like, we're all going to have to get to know this new person over and over and over again. Like, I think you brought it up earlier, but like our westernized civilization, like the way that our culture is just so, is countercultural to heaven in a lot of ways. And like, we got to identify what are the things that God said about a man? What are the things that God said about a man of a house, a husband, a father, a brother? Like, what are the things that it says in the word that we can apply to this, you know, our American 2024 life? Because like a lot of men think, oh, well, this, you know, this is going to be a burden and I got to be the man of the house.
It's all right. We got this one. We'll just have to rock with this one.
It's all good.
It's all right.
You know, like there's that burden of like, you got to be the man of the house, you got to provide, you got to take care of everything, you can't put anything on her, you can't burden her with this, you can't. And it's like, does the Bible say that? Like, you know, if you find a scripture, let me know, but like, I haven't seen it. And I think that, you know, like I told him, I was like, I realized it was like something clicked and the Holy Spirit really just revealed to me, like, he's trying to protect you from himself. Like, and I don't know at the time, I mean, honestly, like, still talking through it even right now, I don't know if it's that he felt like, sometimes I say, because he's like my big teddy bear, but he can turn into a grizzly bear if I need him to be my bodyguard. And so I was like, I think you're trying to protect me from the grizzly bear. Like, I don't need protecting from, like, I'm designed to handle him. You know, like, I'm designed for him, and we've knit our souls together, and like, God has blessed it, and all of that happens in marriage. And so like, I know for a fact, like, if it's something that you bring to the table, I am graced for you. And if I bring something to the table, you are graced for me. And that, you know, that keeps us like both full in a sense, and both being able to like be vulnerable with each other, be transparent with each other, grow with each other, and not feel like, am I putting too much on him? Cause like, I mean, this week had that thought, like, do I tell him about this situation that is frustrating?
Or do I not?
Or do I just keep it in? Because if I tell him, he's going to be upset, and not upset at me, but upset at the situation. He's going to want to do something about it. And I just, you know, like, and I was like, stop. You can't protect him from you, Mel. You got to just be honest. Like, cause you need him and he needs you. So like, you coming home and faking it, he can see it in a heartbeat. I think I'm good. Like, I'd be like, hey, babe. He's like, what's wrong? All I said was, hey, I'm fine. No, you're not. Like, you know. Yeah,
that's a beautiful thing, though, man. It's so beautiful. I love marriage for that exact reason.
Yeah.
But we are at over an hour now.
Dang.
I really feel like we could talk for like 2 days straight. Like,
we're gonna have to have like part 2.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you guys back on here. This was definitely a lot of fun, and just our conversations. I know we can go anywhere and talk about anything and still have a good time. But thank you guys again for joining us and being our very first guest on the podcast.
Yeah, for real.
Our very first time on a podcast, and you know, hopefully the first of many. But just thank y'all for just letting us be a part of your platform, and just allowing us to just transparently talk.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for being transparent and vulnerable too, and sharing things that are hard, because that's what we want this podcast to really be about, is people that can come in and be raw and real, and we know that it'll reach people that are going through similar stuff, or could really, like, you never know, like, sharing your stories, sharing what y'all went through, one little thing that y'all went through could just like rock somebody's world, or just help change the circumstance of how they are feeling. So that's what we really hope. That's why we like this. You know, hearing other people's stories and stuff is awesome and powerful.
Well,
It's power in your testimony.
if you're watching on YouTube, I'm sorry that the other camera died, so you're just looking at us when they talk, but
We're still here.
they are still here. You can still hear their voices, and I hope the viewers and listeners, I hope you all gain something from this. We hope that you can take at least one thing out of this and apply it to your life. But with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Until next time, guys, we are definitely going to have you guys back.
Yeah.
This was a really fun conversation to have. Ava, come on.
I know, our
down.
dog is just...
Come on.
Y'all, she loves you guys.
She wants to stare into my eyes.
But we love you guys. We love you guys.
Love you all.
We'll see you guys next time. Until then, see things from a higher view, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Peace out.